So if there's no water, I don't know how the water gets to the hydrants.
What?
Please defer that to DWP or whomever control.
Wow. Just wow. I can't even believe this is happening in Los Angeles. But here it goes, the blame game. But, at first I thought to myself, do we need to be blaming or do we need to be fixing? I think we need to do both. So that being said, I found this great interview here of the Los Angeles Fire Chief talking about the reason possibly and probably why all this has happened. So we're going to get right into this. And thanks again for liking and subscribing. And it's a long interview, so I'm just going to cut to the spaces that I think are the most important parts of this. And this is not going to be the only video I do on this because there's just so much information. It's out. You won't even believe it. It's completely out of control what's happening here in Los Angeles. And our infrastructure is a mess. Not only that, the people who are the leaders of this city, what? Really? Are you kidding me? Like, seriously, people need to be held accountable for a lot of this stuff would not have been happening. So let me just, again, like I just said, get right into this and start this off. So when I start this off, I'm going to cut some pieces. So let's go.
So let's get to the big question, the budget. There's so much talk about it. It was cut 17 million. It was cut this. It wasn't cut at all, according to one newspaper. Was your budget for the fiscal year 2024-2025 cut?
I can tell you, I'm going to even go back further than that. Again, since day one, we've identified huge gaps in regard to our service delivery and our ability from our firefighters, boots on the ground, to do their jobs. Since day one, this is my third budget as we're going into 25-26. What I can tell you is we are still understaffed, we're still under-resourced, and we're still underfunded. So with that, whether it's 7 million, 10 million.
But was the budget cut, Chief?
Yes, it was cut. And it did impact our ability to provide service.
Let's talk about that memo. You sent a...
And it impacted their ability to do service. Why would you cut the budget of a fire department in an actual city that deals with fires, that we know has fires, that needs the fire department? Why would you cut? It's like cutting the police department. Remember, no, defund the police? What? I mean, these are the most important parts of really a functioning city. And I actually am so mad at myself for not even actually paying attention to that, to be honest with you. I didn't vote for Bass, by the way. I just want you to know that. Not that that makes it a good or a bad thing, but I already didn't particularly feel like she could run this city, and she's approving that now. She better resign, by the way. So there you go. There's that. This police chief. I want you to also know that I hope you all aren't blaming the fire department, and they're doing the best job they can do. And that's one of the things that this fire chief would say through this whole interview, which I'll put a link to it. But it basically, she's saying we do our job. We try to do our job. We need the tools to do our job. And so I think everybody pretty much knows that. When you see what I'm going to show you near the end of this, it's going to blow your mind. So there's that. I want to bring the rest of this
memo, a scathing memo to the Board of Fire Commissioners, where you expressed your concern that you were not going to be able to do your job. Your firefighters would not be able to respond adequately to a major emergency like a wildfire, like what we're seeing right now.
Right. So understanding where our services gaps are, number one, is understanding where our firefighters need in regard to their equipment. Now, let's focus back on what our people need, and what they need to be is properly funded and equipped. Whether it's 7 million or not, it doesn't matter. It impacts our ability, just like you said with the board report, of our ability to provide service, and that's on a normal day. Our firefighters are running over 1,500 calls. They're transporting 650 patients a day on a normal day, let alone the last 3 days of what we've had with significant impacts that have changed the communities that we serve, their lives forever. So with that, we're going to continue to fight for what we need to. That is my job as the fire chief of the best fire department in the world.
What a position this person is in. And I'm going to tell you that from my research, I see that she has been requesting more funding. She has been saying, if you don't give us the funding, we are understaffed. We are under, we don't have the equipment. We don't have the money. Why would you cut the budget $17 million when this fire chief kept asking for more money, okay? And kept saying we need more funding, yet they were taking it away. It's just mind blowing to me. I can understand that at this point here in the interview, she's trying to be very sort of not placing blame, but there gets to be a point in this where she can't hold on anymore. And also the person who's doing the interview is really pressing the fire chief on this. So let me just fast forward to this next spot.
What is your message to city administrators, starting with Mayor Bass?
My message is the fire department needs to be properly funded.
And it's not.
It's not at this point, and we've got the justification. We know where our gaps in service are. We know we need 62 new fire stations. We need to double the size of our firefighters. The growth of this city since 1960 has doubled, and we have less fire stations.
Let's repeat that, because those numbers are a little jarring. 20 years ago, you had more fire stations than you have now?
We had 112 fire stations. Now we have 106.
What?
And since 2010, we've had an increase, doubled our call volume, which is firefighters responding to calls, 55% increase with 68 less firefighters.
So
Okay, this is actually insane. And you better resign, Bass. You have destroyed our city, and you definitely need to be held. How can you defund? How can you take away? How can you take away when a city is growing bigger and you're taking away one of the most important parts of a functioning city, the fire department? Wow. Did you all know this?
city funding is not keeping up with the city's needs in real time.
No, and that's what our firefighters need.
Wow.
I'm going to ask you again. I'm going to continue pressing you on this. In your mind, what were you thinking when you hear all those city leaders say, it didn't affect, everything was great, it's unprecedented and la la la. And yes, the Santa Ana winds are unprecedented. We don't have them in January. We all know that. What was going through your heart?
What's going through my heart is that our firefighters, the community's firefighters, LAFD firefighters need to be properly funded. We need to be supported so that they can do their jobs.
And let me show you real quick. Photographer Tony Buttigieg, I'm going to ask you to pan over to that table. Tell me what I'm looking at. This is memo after memo after memo, including to the Board of Fire Commissioners, where you pointed out your concern that you were not going to adequately be able to respond to a wildfire, an earthquake, everything that we see precisely in this city.
That's my job as a chief, is to take a big step back and understand where and how can we better serve the community. As a community needs more, we need to have more to make sure that our firefighters can serve them. I identified early, my team identified early, labor identified early that we have service gaps. So when you talk about sounding the alarm and asking and requesting budgets that are...
She's been saying it. She's been saying it, but nobody's been listening to her. This is actually insane.
Easily justifiable based off of the data, real data, shows what the fire department needs to serve this beautiful city and the beautiful community that we swore that we would. That's what that is about. It is the follow-up. It's showing and justifying where our gaps are, and it's raising and sounding the alarm that the fire department is underfunded, understaffed, and under-resourced.
Do you believe, had your budget concerns been properly addressed in the new fiscal year, would we have seen the same outcome that we are seeing now with thousands and thousands, unprecedented numbers of structures, homes, businesses lost? Would the outcome have been different if they had listened to you?
I do believe if we would have set ourselves up appropriately over the past 3 years, we would have been in a better position of what had happened here in the city where we lost homes and we lost lives.
That has to be very emotional for you. This is your job, but this has to be emotional.
This is more than a job to us. This is who we are. This is our duty. And when you don't have that ability and people don't listen, that's why I'm talking to you right now. The fire department needs to be funded appropriately so that I can look any community member in the eye and say, your LAFD's got your back.
And right now you can't?
Right now, no. Wow. And that's why I'm here.
And how does that make you feel?
This is the burden of command as a fire chief of the greatest department in the world that I've wholeheartedly raised my hand to say, yes, I will represent the amazing men and women of the LAFD. And when they're not getting what they need to do their jobs, it's enough. And that's why I'm here.
And you have injured firefighters too. And you see those homes that have burned to the ground. There is so much loss. People are out of jobs.
Wow.
What goes through your heart when you see that?
The community is our community. Our firefighters stand with the community.
My heart breaks for her because it's not easy, the position she's in right now. And I really do believe she was fighting for the budget, but like somehow nobody was listening. I'm going to fast forward to this very, very important part. This question is very important.
Did the city of Los Angeles fail you and your department and our city?
It's my job to stand up as a chief and exactly say justifiably what the fire department needs to operate to meet the demands of the community.
Did they fail you?
That is our job. And I tell you, that's why I'm here. So let's get us what we need so our firefighters can do their jobs.
Did they fail you?
Yes.
Bam. Right there. Bam. They failed you. She said it. She actually finally said it. Did you see how that reporter kept pushing on her? She wouldn't answer the question. Okay. I don't know why she wouldn't answer the question, but she wouldn't answer the question until finally, did they fail you? And she finally said yes. Wow. Just wow.
Chief Kristen Crowley, I believe the anchors wanted to ask a question back there, had some comments.
We do, Gigi. If you could please ask her regarding the Times article that came out that the Santa Ynez Reservoir was closed to repairs and it was empty. 117 million gallons of water could have been used in this fight.
The question is about the Santa Ynez Reservoir being empty. There's been a lot of questions about that.
Sure. So my stance on this is when a firefighter comes up to a hydrant, we expect there's going to be water. We don't control the water supply. Our firefighters are there to protect lives and property and to make sure that we're properly trained and equipped. That's my position on this.
Wow.
So if there's no water, I don't know how the water gets to the hydrants.
What?
Please defer that to DWP or whomever controls.
Wait. So this is the part that kind of blows my mind. Fire chief is saying that they go to do the fire and there's no water in the fire hydrant. What? Secondly goes, I don't know how come there's no water, and that's not my job to know why there's no water. I don't know about that one. Don't you think the fire department should know if there's water in the fire hydrants? Shouldn't that be tested I thought we used to test the fire hydrants. Secondly, or third, she's full on throwing the DWP under the bus at this point because she's saying, I defer that to the DWP, okay?
Controls that part, but I can tell you the resiliency of our firefighters, if there's no water, they're going to go find water. They're going to figure out a way to do the best they can with what they've got in a.
But they shouldn't have to do that. There should be water in the fire hydrants.
Very dynamic situation.
And I know you expressed concerns that those DWP hydrants would not be inspected thoroughly because of the budget cuts.
That is something to discuss, and we're going to look into that in regard to how we can ensure there's going to be water when we need it. But in the end, I'm going to defer that to DWP and whomever else controls the supply. I can guarantee you that when our firefighters showed up on that day with what they had, they did absolutely everything they could do,
of course,
to rescue and to save people's lives and property.
Wow.
And that's the bottom line. Now let's get them what they need to do their jobs. And
let's get them water, Chief, because I was with your firefighters and they literally were watching a house burn down with pain in their eyes, not being able to do anything except pull water from a swimming pool to try to save a nearby structure that wasn't burning, and literally watching a house burn to the ground because they had no water.
That's exactly right. But did they continue to work, and did they continue to do what they had to do the best they could with what they had? Yes.
Chief,
follow up.
I'm just telling you, she's full on backing her department, which is awesome. I think like that just feels like a good sort of coach to me because it's not their fault. When you show their job is to put fires out, it's not. But I'm just a little concerned with how the DWP and the fire department are not working hand in hand with each other to understand that there's enough water to put out a big fire like this. And okay, my next video is going to be about the Santa Ynez dam and why it was empty. Why was it empty? It's actually insane that it was empty. So I've been doing research on that. It's going to come up next. With that being said, wow, you guys, this is so like, here it goes, the blame game. But in my thoughts, I'm just going to leave you with this. The fire department is amazing here in Los Angeles, and they have worked very hard, and they're doing the best they can do with what tools they have been given. But we have cut the department that should have never been cut. I also read, and I'll be looking into that a little bit more, that the woman who is running the DWP was supposed to be getting somewhere nearly like a $400,000 raise or some insane thing like that. What? That money could be going into our infrastructure, into our, why does anybody need to be making that kind of money? Why do our elected officials need to be making that kind of money? That is actually disgusting. We need to rebuild our whole political system. It is a mess. People are making too much money. We have career politicians, which I think is completely insane. We need to have term limits. We need to have all these things. And this is what, this tragedy is going to change a lot. Is going to change a lot. But with that, please send LA love. I still feel very emotional about all of this. And it's, you know, it's just sad. It's very sad. And it's very sad that it has come down to this kind of situation. So with that, thank you all so much for liking, subscribing, and helping me get these videos out. And I'll see you guys all on the next one.